Restaurants and cooking books allow us to experience food through someone else's imagination and experience. They introduce us to combinations we may never have tried in our own kitchens. They challenge our assumptions about what a dish can be and quietly show us how chefs think about balance, contrast, and texture. For me, restaurants and cooking books have always been a source of inspiration. Not to copy, but to learn from. Because a dish for me is never just ingredients. I think about flavor, about experience, about how acidity can lift richness, how texture can transform something simple into something memorable, how the same ingredients can feel completely different depending on how they are treated. And sometimes the best way to grow as a cook is to start with something that surprises or challenges you, to taste it and to study it, and then eventually to cook it in a way that feels like your own. Hi, my name is Buntu, and this is Recreate, a series where we return to the dishes that stayed with us and ask, what made this dish work? What did I actually love about it? And how would I cook it now? Welcome to Recreate. How does this work? Hi, and welcome to my very first YouTube video. Honestly, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm excited to see how this will evolve and how this channel will grow as well. But most importantly, I'm excited about the series. I'm sure you just saw the opening of the intro of this video, and you're probably wondering what's that all about. We'll unpack that as we go. I'm very passionate about cooking, and I think over the past few years, if you've followed me on my social media platforms, you probably have an idea the kind of content that I post and what I really love doing as well. And I think I recently came from doing a series from November up to about February, where I was posting every day for 101 days, which is absolutely insane. I think that more than anything, if you missed, I posted a video of some of the lessons that I learned during that whole 101 days. But I think more than anything, it helped me to push content each and every day, each week, and just keep the momentum going. My love for cooking probably started from my love for pizza, food find to be specific. I think I can remember as far as 2016, 2017, where I would actually try and attempt making pizza at home, so I could be able to follow a recipe, but I just didn't understand certain terms like knead, you need up to a certain point, the window test. I didn't understand anything about gluten, and I think what made me more curious actually was every time I would make pizza, right? The texture of the dough, so the chewiness and everything that you love about a pizza, right? And sometimes I'll try and attempt that thin crust and having those bubbles when you cut your pizza inside, the fermentation results, all those things. I would not get them really, but what made me question a bit more was, why did my dough, or why did it become hard after it's no longer like hot, like after you let it rest and all those things? If you try and have it the next day, why is it hard? And I realized that I was using self-raising flour, which is definitely not the flour that you're meant to use. You're meant to then use a flour that has high amount of protein that contributes to the gluten development, and also then learning how to then knead and all those key techniques that you need when making pizza. All that knowledge I did not have, but I think as time went on, as you become more curious, watch YouTube videos, enroll in courses, that's when you actually begin to understand that, oh, by the way, this is not but there's one type of pizza that I made once upon a time that up to today I don't understand why I thought that was a good idea.
Hey y'all, come look at this.
And my friends enjoyed it, which I kept on looking at that picture and I'm like, how on earth, why did I put that thick slice of tomato on that pizza? Only God knows, but at that time probably I thought I was doing the most coolest thing, putting a thick slice of tomato there. And then over the years I started 408 Fahrenheit, which was basically a creative outlet for me to be able to create dishes, just have a space where I can experiment and using the science behind cooking. When I first started 408, the idea was to experiment, and actually it still is the idea, to experiment and create dishes using knowledge from world cuisines and understand cooking from a scientific point of view, which I think helps in me understanding and breaking down recipes and techniques and understanding why certain steps are necessary when cooking. So the Recreate series, this was an idea that I had sometime in 2024. It must have been May 2024, June 2024. I was having this nice pasta at the Harry's Cafe, which is by Brodeur's course, and I think I remember writing it down in my journal, or I think could have been my journal or in my notes app at that time. And I was like, you know what? I think what would be cool is do for all the meals that you enjoy at different places, or even recipes that you come across in the different cooking books that help you grow as a cook, help in your technique, in your skills. I think what would be cool would be try and reimagine, recreate, and not necessarily replicate. In some cases, yes, we can replicate, but again, it's in our own way, how we see fit, and just based on memory and what would have tasted on that day, and what stood out for me, all those things. And I think that was the beginning of Recreate, which was 2 years ago. I even tried, I remember I did a post about it on Instagram, of that same dish that I had, it's called the Green Goddess fettuccine pasta. I tried it in my own way. I remember, I think my main question from that dish on that day was so they had a green creamy kind of sauce, and I think initially I thought that was from a pesto. So I remember even when I then recreated it at home, it didn't necessarily come out the way that I had imagined in my mind, but it was still good. But later on I then found out, no, there's a different way of actually then getting to that green sauce that I was trying to create. But again, it's learning. The main aim for this series is actually learning and being able to take you guys through the different processes, how I think, how I approach a recipe, how I use a recipe as a guide, but at the same time, I think just letting you in what we can look out for when we are cooking. And most importantly, this is for growth. This is for documenting my cooking journey, and being able to track my progress over the next couple of months, couple of years. Since this is my first video, I'll not keep it long. But thank you if you've made it this far. Thank you for watching. Please do all the things. Please like, please share, please subscribe, comment. Any thoughts that you could have, any ideas that you would like for me to work on, any content ideas, everything and anything is welcome. See you in the next one.